Hi, my name is Ryan Deleuze, and I created Alive. This tutorial is on the clinical version of Alive, and this covers the basics of the clinical version. So I'm going to open Alive, and one of the first important things that you'll find when you're using the clinical version of Alive is that you can choose to skip past the initial coach introduction. So let's say I create a new user, Ryan, and then I choose that user. Now, as a clinician, I may not want my new users to go through the standard Alive coach, so instead I press the backquote key. Now, this key is in the upper left corner of your keyboard, normally on the same key as the tilde, so it's a quote that goes the other way, the backquote key, and if I press it once, I get the clinical control panel, and I'm going to go ahead and click Unlock Main Menu, and that's going to take me directly to the Alive main menu. Now, other parts of the coach can be also enabled or disabled in the clinical version. So again, I'm going to go ahead and press the backquote key, and here I can see that I can set coach suggestions to on or off. Now, turning the coach suggestions off will turn off all of the different times that the coach would make a suggestion, which includes here at the main menu and also within the games when there might be a suggestion to go to an easier or harder game or to, say, do a certain breathing technique. So to just quickly review the other buttons here in the clinical control panel, I can export my sessions to Excel. I can launch a secondary graphing screen. If I do this, I'll be able to, for example, watch detailed heart rate variability analysis on one monitor on a two-screen display, while at the same time on the other monitor having my client train with, say, dual drive. Also, if you only have one monitor, you can arrange both windows so that you can still see some of the graphs and some of the game if you choose. Also here in the clinical version, I can choose the difficulty of my heart rate smoothness or heart rate variability measurement. Standard is what Alive has been on in prior versions, but now we can also make it easier or go to 3 more challenging heart rate variability or heart rate smoothness settings. Another very important part of the clinical version of Alive is the extensive graph training. Graph training is found under Alive Workshops, Graph Training. Then you can go to Choose Graphs and choose a very detailed heart rate variability or skin conductance graph. So for example, here in the skin conductance graphing, I can set my starting skin conductance and a target skin conductance, as well as zoom these graphs in or out. In addition, there are audio options where I can link music to changes in skin conductance, as well as use the secondary graph screen to view skin conductance and train skin conductance in a 2-monitor setup, for example where the other monitor would be displaying dual drive and training skin conductance. In addition, there is a very detailed heart rate variability graphing screen here where I can view a heart rate variability frequency spectrum, time in different smoothness zones, and other important statistics. In addition, in all of the Alive graphing, we can add comments. So I can have here, for instance, a period of relaxation where I can do some breathing. Followed by, for instance, a period where I did mental math. Then to review any session, we click the Progress Review button. Now in the clinical version of Alive, we can view much more detailed clinical graphs. So in the standard version here, we're looking at the average smoothness, which is a very good measurement. But in the clinical version, we can choose from many different measurements. For instance, here we can look at the average heart rate for the various sessions, or we might review some kind of skin sweat statistic, such as the total skin sweat change during a session. Now, of course, we can click on any of these sessions to review the detailed session graph. So this is the session we just recorded with a relaxation period followed by a mental math period. So here in the standard graph, we can see that during the relaxation period my heart rate smoothness increased, then during mental math it decreased. Now, in the clinical version, we can click the Clinical View button to get much more detailed information. For instance, during the relaxation period, my average smoothness was at 0.73, whereas during mental math it was at 0.47. And we can see the length of time and the total change during each of those periods. We can also see a number of other key indicators. For example, we're going to take a look at average heart rate, which we can see during the mental math period increased dramatically, whereas during the relaxation period it stayed about the same. Also, we can of course look at skin conductance and other indicators such as BPP amplitude. More information is covered in the Clinical User Guide. The Alive Clinical Manual can be found in the Start menu, under Programs, Alive for While Divine, and then the Alive Clinical Version User Guide PDF. I highly recommend that you read through the Clinical Version User Guide. This explains a lot about clinical training and explains in detail the various graphs found in the Alive Clinical version. Thank you, and keep your eye out for additional videos explaining in much more depth various individual clinical features of Alive. Have a nice day.